Ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by SFL family member Jason Gringer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was just here yesterday.
Were you here yesterday, CEO Zach Stanley?
No, I was out of town.
Okay.
Sometimes I have other things to do.
But
Important
Jason always steps up. If you go out of the office, if Nick goes out of the office, I am always here. So that
You tap your wrist and Jason comes running in.
Yeah, for some reason I itched my wrist the other day, and he came to my office anyways, and I'm not really sure why.
You had to tell him that's not what was going on.
Yeah, I had an itch.
He was excited.
It was a little weird.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that neither of you just threw some puns out at the top of the show because, let's be honest, it is the 32nd day of the 32-team breakdown.
And I'm feeling golden.
Of course you are.
Because we have the leading rusher in New York Giants history on the show today.
Brandon Jacobs?
I think he's like fifth.
Thunder and Lightning?
I'm pretty sure
Fire
he's
and
like
Ice?
fifth.
What was their stupid team name? Thunder and Lightning?
Thunder. Bradshaw and Jacobs?
Yeah, it was like Fire and Ice.
Yeah. Oh,
no, it was Thunder
Earth, Wind,
and
and Fire, because they had...
No, it wasn't Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's a group.
No, it was.
No, it was Thunder and Lightning. I'm pretty sure.
You can look it up.
It wasn't Fire and Ice. That's
you know what?
Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was who was that other guy that they had running?
Peyton Hillis. No, obviously.
No.
We'll be sure to ask Tiki. No, we won't.
It might have been Andre Brown.
That's too. No,
it's not possible.
Tiki Barber retired in 2004, so no, that's probably.
It starts with a W.
Okay. I mean,
the last name is a W.
We might figure it out. I'm pretty sure. Great. Awesome. I'm pretty sure we have more pressing things to talk about because, let's be honest, there was some interesting Buffalo Bills news and notes in the last couple days. A certain guy that has a really interesting neck beard got signed. Kyle Orton and his large, awful neck beard are now, quote-unquote, the backup for E.J. Manuel.
It was a great signing.
Derek Ward, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Was it really called
Earth, Wind, and Fire, the three-headed monster of the New York Giants.
Brandon Jacobs, Tiki Barber, and him?
And Derek Ward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Good.
How about
Good
that?
call.
Good
no,
trivia.
Not Tiki Barber.
What was the third one?
Derek Ward.
It was Bradshaw Barber.
Oh.
Or Bradshaw, Jacobs, and Ward. Yeah.
I can't believe we're even talking about this. We need to talk about Kyle Orton because I know you're delaying the inevitable. I'm sure we'll ask Tiki Barber about E.J. Manuel because, let's be honest, it's a Buffalo show. Come on.
Well, there's a lot of, the press and media are here to draw conclusions, and some of the conclusions that I've seen are that the Bills are now happy with their new backup that they have acquired, and they feel that they have somebody that they're confident with in case anything happens to E.J. Manuel. The other side of that coin is that people think that there's the potential for them to just shove Orton in there if Manuel isn't performing well over the first few games. I even saw on Roto World one of the guys saying that he would be in there by the end of September.
No. Oh, get out of here. All right, here's the professional quote that Orton has to give when he signed with the team. My role on the team is a backup. My number one job is to help EJ. Of course he has to say that, but let's be honest. If you're EJ Manuel, does this light a fire under your ass? Because they spent a lot of money. 2 years, $11 million, $5.5 the first year. I think it's non-guaranteed. I believe it's non-guaranteed the second year. So it's a one-year deal.
That's true. They can drop him the second year.
It's a one-year deal. I think $3 million guaranteed the first year, though.
Yes,
well,
that is correct.
Yeah,
Guaranteed signing bonus.
He's happy to be cashing them checks, holding the clipboard on the sidelines, right?
Hey, excuse me. Hold on. He almost got the Cowboys in the playoffs last season against Philly. Almost. They almost won that game.
I think he's a decent game manager. I know that's one of those phrases that we like to bring up.
Hold on. Alex Smith. Sorry.
Okay, fine. But I
John Kitna.
don't agree with that. I think Alex Smith is better than that. But.
Yeah, Alex Smith's much better than that.
Okay.
I agree with you.
But I'm glad that we have a good backup because if anything were to, it was a disaster last year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everybody was on the Thad Lewis train thinking that was some sort of solution. Even I was, just because I was,
yeah, of course you were.
Biased and hopeful. But it didn't pan out clearly because he got cut this year. And Jeff Toole everything that I had seen from Jeff Toole was not a solution. Anybody that has played some college ball and has played reasonably well can show up with a bunch of third stringers and look okay. And that's kind of what happened with Jeff Toole. I'm happy to have Kyle Orton there. I'm happy to have a good backup. And I'm happy to know that if E.J. Manuel ends up going down from an injury, God forbid, that we'll have somebody that could come in that is capable of winning football games.
Well, yeah, he's a nice veteran presence to have, which they didn't have, really. They're a pretty young team there.
Well, they thought they got that in Kevin Cobb last season, and we saw that he just fell down and took himself out of the league. So
blame St. John Fisher.
Oh, yeah. Him falling down is definitely on St. John Fisher. Terrible stairs? I don't really know.
That's got to be one of the... Remember when Shaq fell on his butt and injured himself in Boston?
No.
That happened.
Wait,
he fell on
you mean
ice.
in the city?
No, he fell on ice. Yeah, he fell on ice in Boston.
Okay. That's a little different.
And but this
was the
is
summer.
one of the worst injuries ever.
He
was on a mat?
Yeah, he slipped on a mat running out to the field or something.
Ready? Let's sum this up.
Actually got injured.
The Kevin Cobb era, everybody, in Boston.
And that was that.
In Buffalo, yeah, it's done. All right, so we're moving on from Kyle Orton. We have to talk about the Molly-popping man himself, Wes Welker. Apparently got a 4-game ban for amphetamine, Molly. We don't really know. I'm not going to speculate here. What?
Adderall.
No, that's the general excuse when you hear amphetamines is that, I just did some Adderall. But apparently it is Molly, and it's linked back to when he was at the Kentucky Derby with piles of cash in his hand, just handing them out. So that makes sense now.
Yes.
It makes a lot of sense.
That's when they're saying that it was?
Yeah, they're saying it's related to that weekend.
I actually had the privilege of meeting Wes Welker at one point in time. Dinosaur Barbecue here in Rochester.
Oh, no, I've heard this story.
I'm not going to tell the whole story because it's pretty graphic.
Yeah.
But it was extremely interesting, and I would say that a large member of the Patriots squad was very intoxicated, and Wes Welker was leading the crew of drunkenness. And so when this came out, I was not at all surprised. At all.
I've heard the whole story.
This guy is definitely a party animal. Yeah. I walked into Dinosaur. I could see Brady in the back. I saw Julian Edelman. I talked to him for a little bit. And then I see Wes Welker walk outside in his pink jeans, and he was pissing on the side of the building.
Oh, good. Good job, Wes Welker.
There's actually more details than that. But I figured this is a fine time to bring it up now that the entire world knows that he was doing MDMA.
Well, not only that, but come on. When the picture surfaced of him just throwing money at people, I know that he claims he had a huge win that day, but still, why are you throwing money at people? Maybe he thought he was in a strip club. I'm not really sure.
It's so awesome that was the day that happened.
It was like the day after he got tested.
Yep.
Is the report.
Yeah. Can we please talk about this from an actual fan? I know the story is really funny. Let's be honest. Like, come on, he's a multi-millionaire.
This is the second player to say that Molly or to come out that Molly. I can't remember who the other guy was. Somebody else.
Wait,
was doing
Skandrick?
Yeah, for Dallas.
Yeah, I think it was Orlando Skandrick. Yeah.
On vacation or whatever in the Bahamas.
Yeah, he was doing Molly, and so the problem is that all this Molly that they're getting is not pure. It's
laced with something.
Laced with amphetamines.
Pure Molly.
Yeah, you gotta. If you're gonna
pure Molly.
Great. This is I'm not gonna lie. This story just made me a little happy. It was just it's so ridiculous to hear.
Fantasy wise, I hate to say it. I was criticizing Jason for his Emmanuel Sanders pick a couple weeks back. Here he comes. This is the perfect time for him to grab the spotlight.
And yet again, we have breaking news on the Star Fantasy League show. Emmanuel Sanders dropped another pass just now in practice. He keeps doing it. We have to report on every single one. All right, who do you think is going to fill in this third receiver spot, though?
Well, it's either Caldwell or probably Latimer. I like Latimer a lot more than
Everyone
Caldwell.
says they love him, but he didn't really – it was the other guy in preseason that was getting most of the snaps.
I think everybody likes Latimer in his future.
I like him
next
season.
We all know what Andre Caldwell is capable of, but he is capable, and he has produced before, and he has actually produced catching the ball from Peyton Manning. So, this is a reliable guy. This is a veteran guy. They already have enough flash in the offense. They don't really need that extra flash with Lattimore. I think they need somebody that can be consistent out there.
Let's be honest. The big winner and all, the bigger loser and all is probably Peyton because his production might go down. But the big winner has to be Demaryius Thomas, right? He's going to get more targets than he knows what to do with.
He could also see a lot more coverage his way, which could be a problem.
I think the big winner is Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, I would definitely say him.
I do.
He's going to get the most targets out of it, but I still think Demaryius Thomas is. I think he's going to have a huge...
we all know that his upside is through the roof, and he could end this season as the number one fantasy wide receiver. It's completely possible.
Not Josh Gordon in his way, though. No Josh Gordon to talk
about. And so with Emmanuel Sanders there, I think this is a big uptick for him because he's going to be being thrown to a lot more, and 4 games is very significant. And all the people that drafted Wes Welker if you weren't concerned about his concussion injuries and all those problems that are going on, you're probably pretty kicking yourself.
To be fair, you're still you're concerned about his brain because one's getting hit in the brain and one is taking drugs to screw up your brain. So he's out with a brain. We'll say that. Terrible
That's
injury.
why he has all those great press conferences. Right?
These concussions started really occurring when Welker went on his MDMA kick.
And he kept smashing his head into the wall. He's a little weird. All right, we need to move on from such a great offense in Denver to the best defense in the NFL. Our 32nd team on our 32-team breakdown in the NFL. The Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks.
I'm surprised you didn't include in that the team that is going in the 9th round in fantasy as a defense.
Oh, I actually have that written down. Did you see that on my rundown? I have the Seahawks D. Why do we keep bringing this up? Because we bring it up way too often on this show. If you're listening to the show and you haven't heard this before, first off, weird why you're not listening to us. Second off, stop drafting defenses before the second to last round. Stop it.
The thing is
it's
if,
obnoxious.
Is if you actually think that you want the Seahawks D, you're going to have to commit
13th round.
Yeah, 11th, 12th, 13th round pick to them.
Stupid.
And it's not worth it in my mind. I had an auction draft on Sunday in which I got the Seahawks for $5, which I thought was pretty solid when you know you got the number one defense. Some of those other defenses are going to go for three or four. I've seen the Seahawks in auction go for 8 or 9.
That's insanity. I mean, unless you get to the end and you have money to spare, you just kind of didn't budget yourself well, then that's whatever. But other than that, yeah, you're not spending money on this.
You probably weren't listening yesterday. Somebody in one of my drafts took Seattle first overall in the draft.
That was clearly a joke, though.
No, it wasn't.
Come on.
It was a woman.
I had a $250 league. It was a woman.
It was. True
good. Okay. I had a $250 league. Get Tony Romo in the second round, and I forget it was a whole mess of other people. Tavon Austin early, just absolute craziness going on, all from this one guy in a $250 league.
That's the best part about fantasy. No matter how many times we talk about the sleepers and the guys that are trending upwards, there's always people that do not pay attention to this stuff. Not everybody's listening to the Star Fantasy League show and reading all these articles, so that's why we're here to bring you the information so you're not the guy drafting Tavon Austin in the 5th round and looking like a fool when he gets you 7 fantasy points.
You're always really excited to see those guys, though. All of a sudden you see them in your draft, you're like, okay, there's a pick. Well, it's like taking a pick out of the draft every round.
Yeah, do you know what Christmas is for me when you see a draft? When there's always one guy you want and one guy drafting ahead of you, and you go, oh, don't take my guy, and then he takes Tavon Austin, and you go, oh, that definitely was not my guy.
You know what Christmas is for me? The Bills season.
Yeah, that is true. We're not talking Bills when we come back. We are talking the 2014-15 Seattle Seahawks when we come back. And you'll listen to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Donald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
It's coming back, guys. John Old's mailbag will return next week on the Star Fantasy League show because tomorrow it's Weekend Fantasy Focus. If you listened to us back when we started the show, I believe in January, we were doing Weekend Fantasy Focus where we give you all of your daily fantasy needs on starfantasyleagues.com. We build your best team basically for you. That's my favorite show of the year.
It's all so helpful because we know exactly what we're doing most of the time, I think.
We had Seth on last year. You want to rephrase that?
I'm about to say no Seth this year, so...
No. Seth still wants to come back and do some segments on that show. We're not letting him.
I've been working on my daily week 1 team for like 3 weeks.
No, you don't. Okay. Don't touch it. Haven't you learned by now? You don't touch it until 24 hours before, and then you do the research, and then you switch 8 players the day before. Sorry, the morning of. That's what I do.
Isn't that exactly what you don't want to do? Doesn't that like ruin everything?
No.
Well, what if you had Wes Welker in your life?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm a tinkerer. I tinker way too much. It just happens. All right, we need to talk about the Seattle Seahawks because coming up in the third segment, we're talking with Tiki Barber. He's going to break down everything we want to ask him. It's mostly going to be about Buffalo, right? We're going to talk Buffalo.
Well, we do have some questions for him.
Of course we do, because you're worried about EJ Manuel. You want to be put at ease, basically. You do.
It's been a stressful offseason.
Of course it has. All right, let's talk about the kind of a stressful offseason for Seattle as well. They obviously won the Super Bowl in What should we call that? Convincing fashion, an absolute domination. What do we call it?
The worst Super Bowl of all time?
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It was a fun party.
It was
though.
more just an abortion for the Broncos.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
They didn't really show up. They weren't a thing.
No.
I
That first play that went over Peyton's head, it was pretty much all downhill.
You know what? I actually think it was over during that one play. That's sad. All right, but let's talk about what happened to this Seattle team in the offseason. They lost a lot from this number 1 overall defense, but my big question is, was this more a product of Pete Carroll's scheme, or is it actually the players that make up this defense that make it so great? Or is it a combination of both?
Well, who'd they lose?
They lost Brandon Brown. They lost Walter Thurman. They lost Chris Clemens. They lost Clinton McDonald. They lost a lot of guys. Red Bryant.
They spent a lot of money on their 2 corners, right? Thomas and
Yep.
I'm not even going to mention his name because
Richard Sherman.
he's such a good guy. He's a class act.
Okay, of course. Richard Crabtree lover. Michael Crabtree lover. Richard Sherman. Yeah.
I think it is a great system that they have in place there. I think that they do a really good job of playing together and getting their players ramped up overall, both offensively and defensively. There are some key losses here. It's good that they were able to keep a couple of their cornerbacks, but some of these guys, and switching just to offense, Golden Tate.
Yeah, that's actually because I talk about the defense. I think the defense is going to be fine just because of the Pete Carroll scheme. He'll plug players. They didn't even address it that much in the draft, really.
There's still a lot of talent even with some of these guys going off the board.
They were worried about the run game a little bit because they grabbed Kevin Williams from Minnesota, who's literally just going to plug in the middle and just be fine. He's just going to sit in the middle and whatever, do what you got to do.
Like a hawk.
Take up
No,
that
he's
space.
he's definitely not a hawk. He's more like a boulder. Yeah, he does. He just takes up space. That's what he does. He's not agile like a hawk. I can tell you that much.
Like a
mongoose. No.
like a bull.
I said no. Those bills are fast. All right, we can't keep doing this because we actually have to talk about this team. Yeah, that is actually accurate. But you mentioned Golden Tate. I do want to talk about him because I think this is going to be a bigger loss for this team, especially because the other receiver who's oft injured on this team, Sidney Rice, retired. Done.
Can we just imagine what would happen to this team and this offense if Percy Harvin goes down at this point?
Hold on. They did the same thing.
A guy who has had issues before.
They did the same thing last year, though.
Migraine problems, injury problems. Yeah, I know that they did, but I mean,
nobody caught more than like 60 balls on this team. It was 64 for Tate, and then 50, 40, 38. Like nobody caught any balls yet. Apparently, Russell Wilson still had 3,300 yards and 500 plus on the ground.
Well, Baldwin is pretty capable.
Yeah, he's a decent number 2.
Yeah, except again, if Percy Harvin goes down, Doug Baldwin's going to be a very under-talented number 1.
Yeah, and then you got Jermaine Kearse to plug in there.
Oh, good. Touchdown vulture, Jermaine Kearse. Great. Didn't he have a bunch of touchdowns last year?
I just think that they got rid of the guy with the injury, or without the injury issues, and
they
kept
kept
the one
the-
that
yeah.
did.
Well, we know why they got rid of him, right?
Why?
The whole Russell Wilson
Okay,
scandal.
I said not to bring this up, but he brings it up anyways. I think this is a fake story. I think you're planting the story that Golden Tate apparently did something with a member of his team's significant other. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they had to appease their star quarterback, so ship their receiver out of town, right?
I don't think this is a real story. I think he's totally making this up on the show.
Oh, there's rumors.
This sounds like hogwash to me.
Yeah, it does sound.
could be.
It does sound like hogwash, and
But I like to bring it up because it's Seattle.
It doesn't have anything, regardless if it's true, it doesn't have anything on the Gloria James Delonte West story.
oh my God, we're not bringing that up again. Or
One of my all-time favorites.
or West having a shotgun in the side of his motorcycle. You remember that story too?
Didn't he have a book bag full of guns?
Yeah, something like that. All right, so you mentioned Russell Wilson and his interesting offseason. We have to talk about that's the biggest offseason question for this team. How will Russell Wilson's new life affect his play on the field? He's now famous. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's a guy that had a chip on his shoulder, flew a little under the radar, always heard, you're too small, you can never win, and now Super Bowl winning quarterback.
I don't think it will. I don't think it'll affect
Oh,
anything.
sorry, and he got divorced in the offseason. That's going to add to it, too.
And he got drafted. Again.
Oh, yeah, to baseball.
He's been concentrating really hard on that baseball career for the Rangers.
Why?
They need him at second base.
Why?
I don't think there's going to be any issue here. I think that he is fully committed to the team. I think that he is a guy that can still improve in some ways in his game. And we've seen what this guy is capable of when they need offense. He can provide it. And I think he hasn't reached his ceiling yet.
Yeah, he's super small, right?
You just want to keep saying that, don't you? You're like a tiny dude.
Yeah,
But the things that he
is
does-
Drew Brees, and they both have hands that could cover my entire head.
Well, Johnny Manziel, Russell Wilson. kind of the same quarterback right there.
Huge
hands.
You will stop that because Johnny Manziel doesn't even understand what a
How
football
can you
pass
even
is.
make that comparison?
I think he's just doing it to anger you. To be honest. This comes from the man who owns a Johnny effing football T-shirt. So
I'm going to be glued to Johnny football games as soon as he is starting because I will be rooting so hard for him to not play well.
I can't wait for him to get sacked the first time and just not get up.
I want to see him do really well.
You're a terrible.
Just to make everybody
Don't you
mad.
have like a Johnny football hoodie or something?
He has. No, he has a
just
shirt.
brought it up.
I said it.
Oh, you said
Yeah,
that?
he has a shirt.
I bought it off the street in Cleveland.
It's ridiculous.
You can buy a lot of other stuff off the street.
Bought into the hype.
Yeah, that sounds about right. All right, so Russell Wilson's going to be fine. Second biggest question is how can the Seahawks make up for half of their league-leading defense leaving through free agency? And some injuries and some other things.
I don't think they're going to have that great of a season as they did last year. Their first 3 games are really tough, I believe, and then they have a bye week 4.
Yeah,
which
their first 3 games aren't only tough. It's home versus Green Bay, which it's home. It's to start off the season. Pretty much every home team that's the defending champion wins that game convincingly. At San Diego, I actually think San Diego is going to be one of the big surprises this season. I think they win 12 games and win that division. And then home versus Denver. So not the greatest schedule to start, but after that they have basically 7 of 8 games are just easy wins for them.
Who's winning 12 games?
I think San Diego. I said it when we talked about San Diego on the show. I think San Diego wins 12 games. I like their team a lot.
You think San Diego is going to win 12 games and win the division?
Yep, I do.
Win the division.
Yep.
You know who else is in that division?
I do know Denver's in that division, yes.
I
think Denver's
just want to make sure.
I think Denver is in for a little bit of a step back. A little bit.
Why is that?
I just think they are.
Well, there needs to be some sort of rationale.
Because I feel like San Diego is trending upward, and I think those 2 games right there swing the division.
So you think San Diego has made so many improvements that they can now be better than the Denver Broncos, who added Aqib Talib and DeMarcus Ware on defense.
They were one of the best teams in the second half of the season. Their defense finally figured it out. They were killing teams. They beat Cincinnati handedly in the playoffs.
Weren't they supposed to go to the Super Bowl a couple years ago?
San Diego?
Yeah.
North Turner? Yeah, that problem happened.
So you're blaming North Turner?
Who doesn't blame North Turner?
When he's a head coach, you can blame him.
There you go. He was a head coach.
Yeah.
Ta-da. All right, but we need to talk about Seattle because we got some fantasy implications because we need to move through this to talk with Tiki Barber about the Seattle team, right?
I know.
And Buffalo.
I just can't believe you're making that prediction, but
12 wins.
Okay.
12 wins. It's happening. Shake on it.
Okay,
Let's do
we'll
it.
Shake.
Yeah, all right, Seattle.
We'll make a little side commentary after the.
I'm sure we will. All right, so let's talk about the biggest guy on this team, Marshawn Lynch. I'm sure we're going to ask Tiki about this because he didn't break down in 10 seasons in the NFL. He still was rushing 300 times up until he retired with, 1,600 yards this last season. So what do we think about Marshawn Lynch, currently the 8th running back in the second round? I still think he should be early second round. Early.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with him going early. The one thing about Marshawn Lynch is that he doesn't get a lot out of the backfield in terms of catching passes.
Okay,
he
30.
never
You don't
will.
think 36?
30, right?
36 is a decent number last season.
Yeah.
That's not normally he is around the 20.
I don't think we'll see that again.
Yeah, if you're in a standard league, he's going to go higher.
Yeah,
if
much
you're PPR,
sure.
take him lower.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's pretty much the bottom line. But all this talk about the fall off. Christine Michael is not showing.
He's not even the number 2.
He's not showing. Yeah,
Robert
he hasn't
Turbin.
demonstrated anything that he's going to be the next guy in line.
Neither of those guys
Robert
has an
Turbin
ADP.
is not a guy. Yeah, is not a guy that is capable of taking over. As long as Marshawn Lynch stays healthy and really, yes, he's had a lot of wear. He's gotten hit a lot, but we could say the same things about Frank Gore. We've already had that discussion. And
I'm sure we'll get to it too.
I'm sure we'll talk about it more.
Seattle's a running team. They're going to run the ball a ton.
Yep.
And he's going to get all the goal line touches, so he should be in line for a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, and that is the big thing is that all of a sudden you're looking at a guy that gets 69 yards on the ground in a game, but he has 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean he had 14 touchdowns last season. You basically have to account for 1 touchdown a game with him. Like you said, he could have 60, 70 yards, but still 70 yards and a touchdown is a pretty big week for a running back.
He is one of, I would say, 2 of the most reliable guys in the league to pick up that 1 yard.
Yeah.
What did you think of him when he was on the Bills? Did you like him?
He doesn't want to talk about him.
No?
He didn't want to talk about him.
Well, there was the whole hit.
He just wanted to get out
There was
of
the whole
Buffalo,
hit and run incident.
Yeah, that's bad.
So that kind of left a
All
sore
right,
mark on
we
the
got to
whole
quickly
thing.
talk about the rest of the guys. Do you like anybody else on this Seattle team other than the defense who you should not be taking ever because people will take them too early?
No, Percy Harvin's going way too early in my mind.
Late 4th round right now? Are you kidding me?
And Baldwin and Curse, I don't see any consistency coming out of that.
Nope.
So, no.
I can't
really
believe
don't.
this is the only team where you talk about a guy who could break down, and nobody's drafting their backups because nobody trusts them.
This is a team that has a very talented quarterback and running back, but is primarily led by its defense, and they're going to need that this year, I really think, because there are some people in the West that are looking really – the Saints look great. The Packers look awesome.
You mean NFC? Not the West.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was like, with the West.
Sometimes
the West looks terrible this
sometimes
season.
I think of the NFC as the West.
Yeah, I personally, I think they're going to win the division pretty easily, but I also think that division is going to have a big step back this year. San Francisco, a lot of injuries. St. Louis, obviously major gaping hole. And Arizona has a ton of injuries on defense too. So this defense could go from best in the league to just middle of the pack.
Yeah, coming into the season, we thought probably the NFC West would be maybe the best division in possibly the NFL.
And yeah,
looking forward
not
to
gonna
seeing
happen.
what Golden Tate does in Detroit and how his absence affects them.
Of course, we had to end the segment with Golden Tate because see you later, Seahawks. He's not going to be there anymore, and he's going to be catching a lot of balls in Detroit. Coming after the break, it's time. We have Tiki Barber, formerly of the New York Giants, now on CBS Radio, joining us. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Zach, and Nick, only on The Team.
We are back on the Star Fantasy League show, and we are very, very proud to have our next guest on the show. He was a member of the New York Giants for 10 seasons. We are a Rochester-based show, so we love New York football teams. And Tiki Barber, welcome to the Star Fantasy League show. How you doing today?
I'm glad. Great to be on with you guys. I was just up in Rochester a few months ago. I was doing an event up there.
I'm assuming you had a garbage plate while you were here. Please tell me you did.
I didn't. Tell me so I can get it next time I come up that way. Garbage plate.
I was going to say, Zach, you're the garbage plate guy. Where's he getting a good garbage plate?
Well, you could go to Nick Tahoe's. You could go to Penfield Hots. Actually, pretty much every bar or grill at this point in time has a garbage plate in Rochester.
I feel like we spend...
If I would have known to ask, I would have definitely partaken.
Yeah, we spend so much time on this show talking about food. It makes sense that we're talking with Tiki Barber about food, of course. But we spent the day talking about the Seattle Seahawks. We've been breaking down all 32 teams on the Star Fantasy League show. And we were talking about Marshawn Lynch and how everybody thinks he's going to regress this season. You played 10 years in the NFL. Yeah. You didn't regress toward the end. Why does everyone think Marshawn Lynch is going to regress?
Well, simply because he's had a lot of carries and a lot of wear and tear. And I've always actually believed that the decline of a running back happens as a function of number of carries. We see it with Frank Gore. We see it with guys all over the history of the league. But there's just something about Marshawn, and I think a lot of it has to do with the stoutness of the offensive line up in Seattle. It feels like he still has a lot left in the tank. And now the only thing that will curtail that is his desire to do it. We heard some people mulling that he may be thinking about retirement. I don't think that's the case. I think he just loves the game so much, and he loves the success that comes with it. Not that he's a commercialized guy, not that he's promoting his brand, but he just loves the physicality of football. And to think of him not doing that is hard for me to do. And even though he's older, I still think he's got a lot left in the tank. And
talking about the physicality, what do you think about the punishing effect of runners as compared to guys that you would say like Barry Sanders types that dance a little more, don't necessarily get hit as hard? Do you think that has an effect on longevity?
Well, it does, because it affects your you get bruises and nicks, and you get little chips in your cartilage in your knees, and all of a sudden that speed that used to be your hallmark is gone, and so you're more susceptible to blows. But with Marshawn, because he's so thick-bodied, he's got huge legs, got a huge ass, those type of things, you don't worry so much about the pounding. You worry about a pounding with a guy like Adrian Peterson, who somehow, despite being 29 years old right now, still feels like he runs as fast as he did when he was a rookie, and still runs with that same type of power where he's lowering his head and Walter Payton it all the time. You worry about those kind of guys who are still fast and have these explosive collisions as they go forward.
Yeah, I'm always surprised that nobody mentions Adrian Peterson in that category, because he had the ACL injury and came back with one of the best seasons we've ever seen.
Yeah, the 2,000-yard year, which was ridiculous for a guy who coming off an ACL.
Exactly. Nobody expected anything like that, and he blew out of the water. You mentioned Frank Gore earlier. This is a fantasy-related show. We talk about Frank Gore keeps getting pick up his backup, go after his backup. For the last 3 seasons, this has been happening.
Yeah.
So he keeps dropping in drafts. Do you think that that's a smart thing, or would you be a guy that's like, Frank Gore in the third, fourth round? That's a pretty smart move.
No, I think it's a smart move because he might be the most underrated running back over the last 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer than that. It's just been nothing but consistent. I mean, he gets banged up, but he's always out on the field, and he has the ability, despite not being a blow-away speed guy, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But to make big plays. By big plays, I mean these 20-plus runs. They always seem to happen for him because it's patience, it's his vision. Those things are you can't coach. You can't really teach it. It's learning how to take angles on defenders so that they miss tackles and allow you to pull through. He has that. And as long as he doesn't have a major injury, he's definitely someone from a fantasy perspective that I'd want on my team, also because he's going to score a lot. He catches the ball as well.
I agree with you, and like John said, with these guys that have come up before him, we've had Kendall Hunter, we've had Michael James, and now we've got all the discussion surrounding Carlos Hyde.
Yep.
Do you think that this is kind of the heir to the throne in the 49ers running game?
Yeah, I think he will be because he's more of a guy like Frank Gore as opposed to a guy that's meant to complement Frank Gore. And, I've had this conversation many times with people about the evolution or really de-evolution of the running back position, how it's become by committee and use 1 or 2 guys to do this and 1 or 2 guys to do that. Frank Gore is one of those guys that can legitimately do it all. And I think Carlos Hyde is trying to evolve, at least the 49ers want him to evolve into a guy that can do it all, catch the ball out of the backfield, be a power runner. He's big, he's strong, and as long as his hands can sustain the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, he could be an heir apparent to Frank Gore.
Well, Tiki, you mentioned the word committee, and we're in Rochester here, and we have the Buffalo Bills, and man, do they have a committee this year. We got Bryce Brown, Fred Jackson, C.J. Spiller. I'm sure there's some running backs I'm missing there. We probably have 5 extra running backs on the team.
That's called greed. That's called greedy because other teams need running backs like that, and they have them all.
Yeah, so what do you think is going to be the situation there? I mean, we know Fred Jackson has just been Mr. Dependable. He's always there. C.J. Spiller didn't really live up to expectations last year, and Bryce Brown, by all accounts, looked pretty good in Philadelphia in that Chip Kelly offense.
And there's been some trade talks surrounding C.J. Spiller.
Yeah, there has been trade talks. We heard that all off season. But the reason you can't do that is because Fred Jackson's 33 years old. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like eventually he's got to break down, right? Seemingly he never will, but it seems like at some point he's got to break down. So who's the guy that's going to be there for you? C.J. Spiller, I mean, when he came out of Clemson, we expected him to be this dynamo, right? This guy who was, 1,500-yard seasons and 500-yard receiving years and contributing on special teams and all. You expected all these things, and it took him a couple of years to figure it out. Last year wasn't a bad year. He averaged he had just under 1,000 yards, but Fred Jackson had just under 1,000 yards. So the carries were split very evenly, and so it's hard to fault a guy who's basically being split a lot. The thing you do fault is his inability to stay healthy, and when that happens, that's when you start thinking about who's next or who can be my reliable guy in the future.
Right, and we were thinking that last year. A lot of the people in the fantasy community were thinking that Spiller was going to end up going at the 6 or 7 spots. That's where he was being taken, and that was the kind of production that we'd see. Do you think that they're going to try to switch him to be more involved than he was last year in sort of a split situation, or that it's going to maintain?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be the same type of situation, especially because you have a young quarterback and you have a young staff that's still trying to figure out, young in the sense in the NFL, figure out, how to win in the National Football League. The one thing I was actually surprised about with C.J. Spiller is that I thought he would, the way he's built and the way that the offense should have been built around a young quarterback or even, fill-in quarterbacks because E.J. Manuel was banged up. I thought they'd throw the ball a lot more to their running backs. He only had 33 receptions, which seems like a lot, but the elite guys who catch balls out of the backfield, they're upwards in the 50 and 60 number of receptions. Look at Jamal Charles. Look at Ray Rice in his heyday, not last year, but in his heyday. But again, that may be split as well. I haven't looked at Fred Jackson's receiving numbers, but he probably took a lot of those.
Right, and we know that C.J. Spiller is very effective in the open field. We do have one more question for you here, Tiki. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on E.J. Manuel. We're all very concerned up here in Western New York about how our quarterback's going to look.
Well, it's interesting how the not the crafting, but the rhetoric around him after he was drafted last year changed significantly. Because I remember covering it, and when E.J. Manuel was first drafted, the initial reaction was the same reaction that the Minnesota Vikings got when they drafted Christian Ponder. Like, really? Well, you drafted him there? But then in camp, and from what people were saying, he seemed to be getting it and seemed to be evolving even right before our eyes to be a good quarterback in the National Football League. And then injuries started to come in. And when you start to throw in that injury factor, then you really worry about development getting truncated. And so it's hard to evaluate E.J. Manuel simply because he hasn't put enough on tape and therefore hasn't experienced enough in order to be relied upon.
Well, Tiki, I can assure you, us in Western New York, we are worried so far about E.J. Manuel, but thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. You can catch Tiki Barber every morning on CBS Radio with Brandon Tierney and Dana Jacobson. And thank you again, Tiki, for being on. We really appreciate your time.
My pleasure, guys.
Take it easy. All right, and that was our time with Tiki Barber on the radio. That was a lot of fun, guys.
That was excellent. He had full answers for us, very detailed and insightful. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I do listen to his radio show with Brandon Tierney and Dana Jacobson on CBS Radio 105.5 in Rochester, and he does a pretty good job in that system. I like it.
I was waiting for you guys to explain what the garbage plate was to him.
No, I think he knew.
No, he didn't know.
Everybody should know.
But he did not.
He just said he didn't know.
He can go Google it.
Yeah, he just said he hadn't had one. That doesn't mean that he didn't know what it was.
It sounded like he didn't know what it was. I was waiting for the explanation.
Okay, coming from the guy who didn't say one word during the interview. Well, how dare you talk smack? Oh, you should ask this question. You have a live mic. You can ask him questions.
Although I have seen him eat a garbage plate for lunch. So
I've done that before in one sitting. I mean, you feel terrible the rest of the day, but it happens.
Well, yeah, you got to do it. You got to take the whole thing down.
If you're a pro athlete and you can't eat a garbage plate in one sitting, something's wrong with you.
I liked what he had to say about E.J. Manuel, though. I do feel like
somehow you took positivity out of that.
There's a lot of concern surrounding E.J. Manuel, but
surprise.
I think we do have to remember that this is a guy that was said to be a raw talent when he came into the league. It's said to be that he needed the time to mature, he needed the time to play, and he only started 5 games last year. So why are we going to this season expecting to be this big sophomore leap when he's really only seen 5 games of real action?
This is his basically rookie season part 2. This is like a red shirt freshman in college when you go, oh well, he sat out or he played like a game or something happened, and we're seeing his actual form now. So if you judge him based off this being his second year, either you don't know anything or you're just doing it wrong. Right?
He's merely had more time with the playbook and more time to get adjusted to the people around him in the offense. But when it comes to in-game play, you can't substitute that for anything.
And they've added some more pieces around him. So, I mean, if Sammy Watkins is healthy, I don't know. Have you heard any reports about the rib?
Of his riblets?
Yeah, let's just keep talking about the ribs because it's a thing now. Injured two straight games.
Actually, Sammy Watkins came out and said that there was some other issue going on, that it wasn't just the ribs, but he wasn't descriptive in that at all. He said he'll be good to go for Game 1, which is Sunday against the Chicago Bears.
Ooh, look at that, plugging it. I can't wait. The NFL season is one day away. We're going to have one more show prepping you for the fantasy season tomorrow. I'm so excited. No show on Friday because apparently the whole Star Fantasy League's office is so excited about football that we can't be bothered to come in the office.
We're ramping up. We're getting amped up. We're getting excited, and we're having a party, I guess, or something. So
is that what we're doing?
No.
I was going to say,
actually, I don't think any of us are going to be here. I think that's the issue.
No one will be in the office, but we will be talking all about fantasy. It's a weekend fantasy focus on Thursday's Star Fantasy League show. Thank you again to Tiki Barber for being on the show. We're going to talk fantasy coming up after the break, and you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
Thank you very, very much to Tiki Barber for being on the Star Fantasy League show. That was really a cool interview.
Yeah, privilege. We don't usually get to talk to some of the top historical guys in the league. Sometimes we talk to some analysts and different stuff like that. But to talk to a guy that was so integrated in the game, such a great career, it really was an honor.
Yep, and if you're listening to 105.5 The Team in Rochester, check out his show with Brandon Tierney and Dana Jacobson every morning on CBS Radio. He's doing a pretty good job. I've actually listened to that show a few times. I'm like, oh, it's Tiki Barber. Interesting.
He knows his stuff.
He definitely. He had stats. You were a little surprised. He just threw stats out there, right?
He knew the reception totals and yardage.
Don't you feel underprepared now?
No,
Maybe.
No, don't admit that on the air. Stop that. All right, if you're feeling underprepared, go to startfantasyleagues.com. We have all of your stats, all of your information for daily and season-long leagues. Tomorrow on the show is the Weekend Fantasy Focus, where we get you ready for Week 1 in daily fantasy football. But season-long is still drafting right now. You can draft up until what, Week 4?
Till Week 4. The start of Week 4, yes.
Yeah, so basically drafts are happening every single day. If you see a couple people register for a game, the best way to get a game started is just to register.
Yeah, and we all know that people, this has happened to me before, where I have somebody that goes down in Week 1 or Week 2. If you have, I don't want to say it because people will get angry, but say Jamal Charles goes down hypothetically in Week 1.
No.
And you're pretty much your league is shot at that point. If you don't have another good running back and you were looking to him to produce for you, join another draft.
That is true. And if you would join another draft right now, all you have to do is deposit with the bonus code FREE14. That's FREE14. 100% deposit bonus to $2,000. And I'm going to throw in an $11 cash credit directly into your account to use on a daily game, a season-long game, whatever you want. Doesn't matter how much you deposit. That's pretty good.
You get a lot of money from that.
Well, just the $11 credit alone. If you put $10 on, you get a free $11. That's $21 right away for you. It's pretty good.
Are you going to do it, Jason?
Okay,
I'm gonna try.
No, you're not allowed to do it. What? Okay, we need to
the
talk.
thing is, we have such great ID services. John will catch you if you do it.
That is true. I do also head up some departments that'll lock you down. It's not going to happen.
You'll be escorted out.
We do have
we'll
the
give
best.
you a box. To
I'll
put
be
your
honest.
things in.
Star Fantasy Leagues, they do it right. We have the best security protocol in the business. We make sure everybody who's playing is eligible. So if you have any questions about eligibility, the site won't let you in if you're not eligible.
No fraud issues. All of the money is completely secure, which certainly makes it easy when you're trying to do a season-long league and you're worried about getting paid out by your buddies.
The best part about the money getting paid out is if you request it right now, you'll always have your money within 24 hours. That's the best in the business, right? You don't have to wait 3 days. You don't have to wait a week. You don't have to wait 6 months for your friends to pay you.
It couldn't be easier to play fantasy football.
No, it could be easier.
How?
I don't want to move. I'm really lazy. Seth's really lazy. He doesn't like moving. I just want my team to be made for me. Zach, can you make my team for me?
I could help you tomorrow.
And you know what? I actually think tomorrow is going to be a really good show because the Weekend Fantasy Focus, we started this out as a podcast almost a year and a half ago. It's so much fun. We're going to give you Would You Rathers. We're going to break down the value plays, the top plays. So we're going to build all the way from the top to your value plays at the bottom.
I can't wait to dig more into the Star Fantasy League salaries. I've given them a look, but I can't wait to find those value plays.
Well, yeah, we've got some quarterbacks that are now minimum plays, like Derek Carr.
Who? Is he starting in the NFL? Oh, God.
Not another car.
Yo, what if somebody drafted David Carr and they're like, oh, no, it's David Carr. I bet you he's still in the league, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's a backup somewhere, I think.
I think it was on the Giants last time I saw him. He was backing up Eli Manning.
Last year.
Yeah.
Maybe he's third string on the Giants right now.
Oh, God,
Is
that's
that possible?
behind Ryan Nassib.
Yeah.
I think it might just be gone.
All right, if you're tired of hearing all this talk about guys who aren't going to play, listen to the show tomorrow for the Weekend Fantasy Focus. Deposit on starfantasyleagues.com today. Free 14 is the bonus code. FREE14. 100% to $2,000 and an $11 cash credit. What's better than that?
Me owning Jason and Would You Rather tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Would You Rather is going to be a lot of fun tomorrow. You don't want to miss that. And football is 1 day away. This is like Christmas Eve. And I don't even celebrate it.
Thanks again, Tiki.
Yeah, thank you, Tiki, for being on. And for the last time, I have to say this before the season starts. If you're not playing season-long fantasy football on starfantasyleagues.com, you're just doing it wrong. Take it easy, guys.